In your life, have you ever had a friend or acquaintance or a family member come to you upset and frustrated because they think that you said something that wasn't right, but they're not saying this because they actually heard you say this thing, but because somebody else said that you said this thing that's really frustrating them and making them mad? Well, that's not what's happening with Steven Crowder. Nobody told Steven Crowder that Candace Owens said or implied that Erica Kirk had something to do with Charlie Kirk's murder. Steven Crowder is just making this up out of his own head. And rather than just telling a few friends, he's telling his entire audience. And a lot of the people in that audience are actually believing that Candace Owens said something or implied something that she never said or implied. Now, I don't have a dog in this fight because I'm not a statist. Steven Crowder is a statist. I also got a problem with Candace Owens. She's a statist. Both Steven Crowder and Candace Owens have lived their entire lives online trying to sell you on the idea how good it is to get involved in politics as long as it's rightist politics. Now, I know Candace Owens has backed off on this a little bit, but they're still statists. And statism is a cancer because it gets people to believe in the idea of authority, that other people have the right to rob and rule the rest of us, and that you and I have the obligation to obey those robbers and rulers lest we be punished. So I got a serious problem with that. But here's another level to this psychological operation, and it's that Steven Crowder is laying down a psyop and is actually working on the minds of the masses, specifically the people in his audience, to believe something that is patently false. This guy literally says, quote, "To all Candace Owens supporters, how disgusting do you have to be to accuse the wife of a man who was shot and killed of planning it or having any part in it? I'm completely fed up with her." Hey, could you give us a little bit of a lead on this, Steven? Could you give us some video clips on where Candace Owens actually said this or implied this? I played the other day a clip that he had provided, and nowhere in that clip does she say or even imply or come close to implying that Erica Kirk had something to do with Charlie Kirk's murder. Now, could she have? Of course she could have. Neither I nor you nor Steven Crowder knows if this is true or not. Is it possible she had nothing to do with it? Of course it's possible. Things are looking a little weird. I mean, Mikey seems pretty happy. Frank Turek seems really happy. Erica Kirk is the most happy widow in America today. Something's really up with that. They're making bank off of Charlie Kirk's death by selling Charlie Kirk shirts. That's a little weird. If my wife was doing that after my death, maybe, ask some questions. One of the biggest things I got a problem with is that everybody at TPUSA, including Mikey McCoy, Frank Turek, Andrew Colvett, and Erica Kirk, are pushing out the government's official story that there's just a lone gunman. It was Tyler Robinson. He did it with a bolt-action 30-06, and Charlie Kirk's neck was the Man of Steel neck and stopped that bullet dead in his tracks, thereby saving everybody else behind him. Even in death, he was saving lives. Knowing the history of the government and how badly they've lied to us and all the evil that came from that, how can anybody sit there and promote the government's official story, especially as it pertains to the death of your loved one? So I want you to listen to Steven Crowder continue to make crap up.
Well, Charlie's wife, Erica Kirk, who has now been put, Candace with that language, with this accusation, has put the wife of Charlie Kirk, and she'll say, that's not what I tried to do. It is.
Quote it. Quote it. Give us the direct quote, Steve. Give us the direct quote. Otherwise, you're just pulling this out of your ass and you are a frickin' liar.
It's the result. Erica Kirk in the crosshairs. It's not like you have to look through 6 degrees of separation. And you can see post after post and article after article with both Kirks, but certainly Erica praising, thanking President Trump, discussing how important his support has been. So if the Trump administration, if the Fed killed Charlie Kirk, look, there's no middle ground here right now. Either Erica Kirk is evil and was in on it, or Candace Owens is an evil.
That's it. It can only be those two things. That's what Steven Crowder wants to do. He wants to relegate you to a box with only two things in it. You can only think about these two things. These are the only options that you get. Sounds like a psychopathic political parasite to me.
I hope I'm being really clear about that. And
you are being clear. What you're not being clear about is where Candace Owens implied that Erica Kirk murdered Charlie Kirk or had something to do with it. You're not being very clear about that. You're just lying.
Saying, well, she didn't connect all the dots just is not an excuse when there is a grieving family right now who's not just left holding the bag, but you know very well will put Erica Kirk in the crosshairs.
She could be in danger, so you can't ask any questions. You can't think outside the box. You have got to completely stay with the FBI's government official story. You start asking questions, then I'm going to have to be forced to start making things up, which is exactly what Steven Crowder is doing, because he's got no ground to stand on with this accusation toward Candace Owens. So hypocritically, he's being as unfair to Candace Owens as he imagines Candace Owens is being to Erica Kirk.
Let me ask you this. If you were killed and someone out there for clicks, clickbait, headlines, went out and espoused conspiracy theories with zero evidence that put your wife or your husband in the crosshairs, where you knew after you had passed that the person you love was going to have to deal with fallout and accusations of killing you and villainized, it'd probably be as close to coming back as a haunting as you could possibly hope for, right?
This is predicated on the fiction that Candace Owens implied that Erica Kirk had something to do with the murder of Charlie Kirk, and it's just not true.
Either Erica Kirk is in on this, and just to be clear, that's obviously rhetoric. Of course she's not.
Of course you mean she couldn't possibly be? You mean we can't say, hey, who benefits here? Because she's going to greatly benefit. And by the way, we're not just talking about some poor widow somewhere living in a trailer getting blistered with all these conspiracy theories. We're talking about somebody who's an insider, who has the red carpet treatment for the White House, who's best friends with the wife of the vice president, who's good friends with the president of the United States. This woman lives in a bubble in her $5.5 million house with her tens of millions of dollars in the bank account, with the juggernaut of TPUSA completely behind her. We're not just talking about your regular Joe Blow American. You don't know what the truth is about her and Charlie Kirk's relationship. You don't know if she had something to do with it or not. And for you to claim that she didn't means you have to bring forward your evidence to prove your claim, because things are looking really weird.
And of course, there's no evidence that she was. And
there's no evidence that she wasn't. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of circumstantial evidence that looks really, really weird. And a lot of people are asking some very serious questions. How could you act like that 2 days after his death? 11 days after his death? How could you guys be doing what you did over at the TPUSA Charlie Kirk Memorial, geo-tracking 277,000 people who didn't give consent to have their private information peered into? TPUSA is a financial and political juggernaut. There's a lot at stake and a lot to be gained by taking that guy out of the way. And TPUSA hasn't stopped growing. It hasn't atrophied. It's exponentially increased. Everybody's talking about Charlie Kirk. Everybody's watching his videos. A lot of people are buying his merch. TPUSA and Erica Kirk have benefited greatly through Charlie's death. My question, Stephen, is why aren't you asking questions? Why aren't you turning over rocks? Why aren't you getting interviews? God knows you got the political pull and power.
Of course, there will be some very unstable people, which is by design from Candace, who will accuse me of being paid by the Trump administration or Mossad or whatever it is. Insert all the crap here. Either Erica Kirk is evil.
Keep that in mind.
And conspired with the Trump administration to kill her husband, Charlie Kirk, to assassinate him in cold blood, or Candace Owens has officially crossed the Rubicon to evil.
That's it. You only get two choices as far as Louder with Crowder is concerned.
Tell me if you disagree and we'll take your chat on it
I disagree.
later. But those are my initial thoughts. And I'm going to call it gonna weasel out. And I didn't say that, and I didn't imply that, and we're just asking questions. You need to do better. One final thing. People have talked about this. Is it true? Is it not? Is that actually the psyop where the left has wanted to drive a wedge?
Oh, you want to see a psyop? This is a psyop. Listen to this.
Between those on the right? Do you think that fracturing those on the right over a baseless conspiracy that the most effective president in modern American history killed one of the most effective public figures in modern American history, who's survived by his wife, who happens to be very close with a supportive president?
The right is a psyop, and there is no fracturing happening. As a matter of fact, what has happened with the Charlie Kirk thing has served to strengthen the psyop. That's the psyop. You want a psyop? Statism is one of the biggest psyops, and you, Steven Crowder, have been and continue to play into it. You're actually a social engineer of sorts. You're a psychological operator because you promote the poison of politics. And politics is the clever and deceptive art of using euphemisms, lies, emotionalism, and fear-mongering, which is exactly what you do, in order to dupe average people into consenting and accepting and demanding the chains of their own enslavement. That is the psyop.
I couldn't think of a more effective wedge issue. So either way, if it's stupidity or it's proactive evil, you must do better, sweetheart.
Question for the crew. What could we say to the people who listen to Candace and believe her? It feels like talking to a leftist at this point, and I'm not sure how we can break through to them.
It does.
No, they're in chat. Good luck.
Some of them are.
So the same Steven Crowder who said this.
And of course, there will be some very unstable people, which is by design from Candace, who will accuse me of being paid by the Trump administration or Mossad or whatever it is.
Unstable people will accuse him of being paid by the Trump administration or Mossad. But Steven Crowder, who implies that he's the stable one, chooses to say this.
What could we say to the people who listen to Candace and believe her? It feels like talking to a leftist at this point, and I'm not sure how we can break through to them.
It does.
No, they're in chat. Good luck.
Some of them are.
It feels like we're talking to a leftist when we're dealing with people who believe what Candace is saying, which is not what Candace has actually said. So once again, Steven Crowder, who's very good at this, falls into the trap of his own hypocrisy. Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the global thought police in the comment section below. Do not send me money. If you want to support this channel, like this video, share this video with everybody you know. If you want, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification icon, because truth matters. Truth is the new hate speech. Truth is the first casualty in any war, and truth is treason in the kingdom of lies. I'll see you in the next video.